Hello and welcome to Spill the Tea. True Stories, the place where real life is more fascinating than fiction. Sit back, pour yourself a cup of tea, and let's dive into the moments that stay with us forever. We're starting now. Enough! My patience has run out. How long will they torment me? Am I some kind of object that can just be used? I just won't survive this. Sarah threw her medical cap aside, but it didn't fly far, landing near her feet. The young woman hid her face in her hands and choked back quiet sobs. Her friend Lisa reached out to comfort her, touching her shoulder, but Sarah sharply pushed her hand away. Lisa sighed heavily and went to the table to get her friend some water. Don't get worked up, I'm sure the situation will be resolved. No, you told the absolute truth. I'm sure Dr. Eleanor Vance will get to the bottom of everything, Lisa said. Sarah lowered her hands and stopped crying. She said sharply, "Resolved? Please, Lisa, stop dreaming. Has a situation ever been resolved in favor of the ordinary medical staff? You know our chief doctor's nature. She'll never admit her own mistake, and her protection is always on the side of the doctors. And she guards David like her own eyes. She's ready to crush anyone who dares to go against him. I know there's something more behind this, but it doesn't concern me. But when they framed me so viciously and then subjected me to such punishment, I'm ready to tear them to pieces." Lisa cast a worried glance at the door of the nurses' station and hurried over to close it more tightly. Then she said in a tense whisper, "Sarah, speak quieter. If someone overhears, it'll instantly get back to the administration." "And I don't care. Let them report me. What else can they do to me? I've already got a reprimand, a blemish in my work record, lost my bonus, and my salary's been cut for several months. And who knows what will happen next? If they decide to sue me, no one will protect me. It's unbearable. I'll just write my resignation." And Sarah again hid her face in her hands, a choked moan escaping her chest. Lisa took a deep, heavy breath and went over to her. Sarah had always been quick-tempered, but today she had simply broken down. Lisa searched for the right words to comfort her somehow. "Oh, dear Sarah, stop it. Don't talk like that. Who has it easy right now? Do you think it will be better somewhere else? It's the same everywhere, and the attitude is the same. You'll just swap one problem for another. You've been working here for 4 years. You're used to it. You know the team. And the job suits you. And if you leave, you'll have to look for a new place. And who knows? You might find something even worse. Come on, drink some water. Calm down, dear. I have to run to the operating room, otherwise the surgeons will tear me apart. Come on, pull yourself together." Lisa hugged her friend tightly and quickly left the nurse's station. Sarah was left alone. In her hand, she clutched the glass of water. She looked at the water and replayed what had happened in her memory. Sarah started working at the hospital 4 years ago. None of the surgeons were eager to work with an inexperienced operating room nurse. Sarah was moved from one team to another, but the young woman quickly earned the doctor's trust. At first, they were wary of her, but she performed her duties flawlessly, carried herself confidently, and soon became the permanent assistant to an experienced older surgeon. She was assigned to operations exclusively with him. Only occasionally did she fill in for absent nurses and work with other doctors. She worked with him for a little over 3 years until misfortune struck. The elderly doctor suffered a stroke. His life was saved, but he couldn't return to work and resigned due to health reasons. For about 2 months, Sarah had to work with different doctors, and then a new surgeon was hired. This was a young specialist, Dr. David Miller, and Sarah became his permanent assistant. At first, the new doctor made a pleasant impression on Sarah, and not just as a professional. She developed a liking for him, but soon she learned about his marital status. She was a little disappointed, but not too much. The main thing was that he turned out to be a good specialist, someone she could calmly perform her duties with. However, Dr. David Miller turned out not to be so simple. He had a difficult nature. He could be charming, but would put people in their place if necessary. Sarah noticed that he treated the middle medical staff with slight disdain. And when she heard him talking to an orderly, she realized that the junior staff didn't exist for him at all. Well, this happens, and often. Sarah wasn't very lucky, but she quickly learned that if she didn't argue with him and followed all his instructions, she wouldn't have to worry about her fate. There would be no conflicts with the doctor. Around the same time, Sarah noticed that something special was going on between the chief doctor, Dr. Eleanor Vance, and David. She quite often called him into her office, and after these visits, David always looked pleased. No one knew for sure what was between them, because everyone knew about the chief doctor's fierce temper. She couldn't stand gossip in the hospital. If she found out what was being said about her, the person spreading the rumors would be instantly fired. No one risked getting involved with the boss. Sarah also kept quiet. She didn't care exactly what was happening between them. The only thing that puzzled her was the age difference. Dr. David Miller was 15 years younger than Dr. Eleanor Vance. She herself was approaching 50, and he was only 35. But, as they say, there's no accounting for taste. If there was something between them, it was their private matter. And then it happened. Today, the chief doctor, Dr. Eleanor Vance, called her in and gave her a real dressing down. It turned out that a few days ago, they had operated on a man, and during the night, the patient's condition sharply deteriorated. They started calling Dr. David Miller. He lived very far away, and waiting for him would take a long time. The patient underwent an emergency procedure, and 3 gauze pads were removed from his abdominal cavity. Hearing this, Sarah turned cold. She understood which patient was being discussed. It was after that operation that Sarah hadn't performed the count of instruments and consumables. She was obligated to do this always, and she was going to do it. But Dr. David Miller gave her another task. That day, he was in a great hurry to go somewhere. "Sarah, be a dear. Run quickly to the station. My suit from the dry cleaner should have been delivered there. I've already warned the nurse on duty. Quickly pick it up and bring it to the doctor's lounge. And make me some coffee while you're at it. I really like how you make coffee. You get some special proportions. The coffee turns out so delicious. Hurry up." "But, Dr. Miller, I haven't finished the count yet." Sarah tried to object but didn't get a chance. "Don't worry, I'll check everything myself for you. Everything will be fine. The operation went quickly and smoothly. I'm sure we worked perfectly. I'll double-check everything myself, and you go and do what I told you." Sarah looked around helplessly. No one had heard their conversation. He had spoken quietly enough. Well, if he promised to check it himself, maybe it was for the best. And Sarah hurried to carry out the doctor's task. Now, Dr. Eleanor Vance was demanding an explanation of how exactly those gauze pads were left in the patient's abdominal cavity. If Sarah hadn't performed the count, it was a gross violation of protocol. "I really didn't perform the count of consumables, but only because Dr. David Miller himself told me to," Sarah whispered. Dr. Eleanor Vance frowned sternly. "Are you also making excuses? What nonsense are you spouting? Is the doctor supposed to perform your direct duties? What are these new practices?" "But it's true. He gave me a task. I wanted to finish my work, but he sent me to the station. He himself told me not to worry." The chief doctor angrily slammed her fist on the table and stood up. "How dare you lie so shamelessly? You wretch! Did you decide to slander our respected surgeon? Why would you do that? Maybe you fell for him, and he didn't reciprocate your feelings. Did I guess right? Are you even in your right mind? Dr. David Miller has a wife, and he's a decent man. He wouldn't lie to his wife." "But that's exactly what happened, Dr. Vance," Sarah objected. "And I repeat to you again, you are brazenly lying, you impudent girl. Do you think I haven't spoken to Dr. David Miller? I already called him in this morning, and he told me everything," the chief doctor snapped. Sarah sank into a chair helplessly. She looked at the chief doctor with a lost expression and quietly mumbled, "And what did he tell you?" Dr. Eleanor Vance smirked. "As if you don't know yourself. He told the truth. That he asked you to hurry up with your work because he needed to run to the station to pick up his suit, and you yourself offered to run instead of him, and that he should finish your work and complete the operation with another nurse, and he strictly ordered you to perform your direct duties first. Why did you behave like that? Why did you lie to him, saying you had counted everything? Why did you set him up like that? You lied, abandoned your post and left, even though the doctor trusted you. If you thought your prank would go unpunished, you were mistaken. Now you will pay the full price. But it wasn't like that at all. It was Dr. David Miller who told me he would do everything himself and sent me for the suit. I wanted to finish my work completely, but he didn't let me. Why did he set me up like this? Dr. Eleanor Vance looked at her subordinate sternly. Then she said, "You know, I understand your motive. I can guess what's going on. You wanted to get revenge on the surgeon because he didn't succumb to your charms, and you decided to lie to him. But you didn't consider one detail. These were your duties, and you didn't perform them. And now you will be responsible for it. If the hospital is sued, you will be responsible, you could be imprisoned, or you will pay compensation to that patient for the rest of your life who almost died because of you. That's how it is. Do you understand? And for now, I will punish you as you deserve. You are deprived of your bonus for 6 months. You will only receive your base salary. I will make sure that a note about your negligence appears in your work record. If you decide to quit after such a blemish, no one will hire you anywhere else. Now get out. I'm disgusted to look at you, you liar." Sarah could no longer utter a single word in her defense. The chief doctor didn't believe her anyway. She implicitly believed Dr. David Miller. She defended and covered for him with such zeal. Sarah sighed and drained the glass. She had almost calmed down, but she hadn't resigned herself to her situation. No, it wouldn't be like this. She wouldn't give up. She was going to do something else. She was going to get revenge on Dr. David Miller, and she had to act cautiously so as not to scare off the participants in this drama. An operation was scheduled for the evening. Sarah prepared to meet Dr. David Miller. When he saw his nurse, he frowned. He probably expected her to avoid him or make a scene, but Sarah calmly greeted him and then said, "There was some misunderstanding. I apologize for letting you down. I should have monitored the fulfillment of my duties more carefully. My mistakes will not be repeated in the future." Dr. David Miller smirked complacently. He understood that Dr. Eleanor Vance had put the nurse in her place, and he himself had managed to avoid responsibility. "Yes, well, make sure this doesn't happen again. The patient almost died because of you. Do you think this is a joke? It's serious. I told you not to leave until you finished, and you let me down. You said you checked everything and ran off. See what happens if I abandoned an unfinished operation like that." Sarah struggled to restrain herself from pouncing on this insolent man, but she gathered all her willpower and remained silent. The operation went quickly. Now Sarah performed her duties even more meticulously. She knew she could be framed at any moment. After her shift, she went home. She didn't eat, didn't drink coffee. She just lay in the dark and fell asleep. Starting the next day, Sarah began to closely watch Dr. Eleanor Vance and Dr. David Miller. At every opportunity, she walked past the chief doctor's office, listening. Dr. David Miller was often in the boss's office, but Sarah didn't hear anything as she passed by. She needed to be sure that there was really something between them. Then only one thing remained: to convey the necessary information to Dr. David Miller's wife. She learned that the surgeon's wife was named Catherine and that she was the daughter of an influential man. If Sarah could prove that he was cheating on his wife, he would have serious problems. She strongly hoped for this. She also hoped that Dr. Eleanor Vance would have problems too. Time passed, but all her attempts to learn anything about the relationship between the chief doctor and the surgeon remained unsuccessful. Sarah began to lose patience and hope. Would she really not be able to get revenge on her offender? Was this fair? She tried her best to behave politely towards him, but it became more difficult every day. The hurt and injustice inflicted upon her were too great. The patient who suffered due to Dr. David Miller's fault was discharged. He did not file a complaint against the hospital. At least in this, Sarah was lucky. It was unknown how everything would have turned out if the hospital had been sued. 2 months passed, and finally, luck smiled on Sarah. She managed to catch Dr. Eleanor Vance and Dr. David Miller. It was late in the evening, and only the on-call teams remained in the hospital. Sarah should have been home long ago, but she had stayed late. She had a terrible stomachache and had been lying in the nurse's station for a long time after taking a pill. When she finally felt better, she got ready to go home. As she walked towards the elevator, she remembered that she wanted to take her scrubs home. She had badly stained her pants. She sighed and turned back. Turning the corner of the corridor, she saw from a distance that the door to the chief doctor's office was slightly ajar. Sarah frowned and slowed her pace. To herself, she noted that she was wearing sneakers. She stopped about a meter from the door. She couldn't see what was happening inside, but she could hear perfectly. Holding her breath, she listened intently. "But why do you make me so jealous?" she heard Dr. David Miller's voice. Dr. Eleanor Vance's playful laugh rang out. "My dear, what are you imagining?" And then Sarah realized this was her only chance. She carefully took out her phone, which was always on silent at work, and turned on the voice recorder to record the conversation. "What makes you think I'm imagining things? That young intern was hanging around you all day today. Did you decide to trade me for someone younger?" "Dr. Vance, I'm not at home and don't play these games with me," said Dr. David Miller. "Oh, Dr. Miller, are you trying to dictate to me? Just look at what you want. You have a wife. Go order her around. Your Catherine probably tolerates it, but I won't tolerate it. I'm not your lawful wife for you to boss me around. I will be the one ordering you around, because you are here only thanks to me. All I have to do is snap my fingers, and you'll be thrown out of here," Dr. Eleanor Vance replied. David laughed. "I like today's games. Today you will be my strict mistress. Well, I'm ready to do everything you say. Only please, let's not talk about my wife anymore. You know, Catherine holds no interest for me." Dr. Eleanor Vance giggled. All right, I won't talk about your wife. Go, close the door so no one disturbs us." Sarah turned cold with fear. If one of them looked out of the office now, she wouldn't go unnoticed. Her whole plan would collapse, and she would have even more problems than before. But she was lucky. The door simply closed. The click of the lock was heard. Sarah was able to exhale. My God, I need to get out of here immediately. She stopped the recording, clutching her phone like a precious treasure. She carefully turned around and began to walk slowly. The further away she got, the faster her steps became. Only when she was in the elevator did she smile, looking at her phone. How incredibly lucky she was. It was unbelievable good fortune that she managed to overhear this conversation. Now she could get her revenge. This would be more than enough. "Now you'll get what you deserve from me," she whispered to herself. A few days later, she managed to find out the phone number of Dr. David Miller's wife. He often gave her his phone to put it on charge, and Sarah seized the moment. She wanted to send the recording, but she didn't know how that woman would react. For several days, she pondered how best to proceed. A week later, Sarah went on vacation. And on the first day of her vacation, she decided to call David's wife personally. Perhaps the woman wouldn't answer, seeing an unfamiliar number, but it was worth a try. Strangely enough, she answered immediately. "Hello? I'm sorry, we don't know each other, but I know your husband. I work with him. I really need to speak with you personally. Please, don't tell your husband about this, otherwise I'll be fired, and I can't lose my job. I beg you, please spare me 10 minutes for a meeting. I won't keep you long, but I really need to tell you something. It's very important." And again, luck smiled on Sarah. Catherine agreed to meet her that same day, in 2 hours. When Sarah arrived at the small cafe where Catherine was already waiting for her, she felt flustered. This woman was about her age, very attractive and somehow sad. "So, what did you want to tell me?" Catherine said after a short greeting. Sarah, hesitantly but honestly, told Dr. David Miller's wife everything and played her the recording. Catherine listened with headphones, her face impassive. Her eyes didn't blink once. She only turned very pale. When she took off the headphones, she looked at Sarah intently. "Why do you want this? Why are you doing this?" Sarah opened her mouth but didn't immediately know what to say. And then she told the truth. She told how Dr. David Miller had framed her, how she had suffered, losing more than half of her income, and that she wanted to teach that despicable surgeon a lesson. Catherine nodded, and then said thoughtfully, "My father told me David was a cad, but I didn't believe him. I believed David. Recently, I started suspecting that he was deceiving me. I even hired a private detective to follow him, but he didn't go anywhere except work. I couldn't even imagine that he was having an office affair. Well, thank you. I think we have nothing more to talk about. Oh, and by the way, I would like to compensate you for the damage that was caused to you because of my husband." Sarah waved her hands. "No, no, don't be silly. I don't need anything." Catherine nodded. She transferred the recording to her phone, returned Sarah's phone to her, and stood up. "Well, as you wish. Goodbye." Sarah sat in the cafe for about 10 more minutes, thinking about how her interference in someone else's life would turn out. Had she done the right thing? A week later, when Sarah returned to work from vacation, she learned the latest shocking news. Dr. Eleanor Vance had been fired. She no longer worked at the hospital. Rumor had it that she had moved to another city. Dr. David Miller had also resigned, and his wife had left him. She had divorced him. No one knew the true reason for what had happened. Everyone was at a loss to guess what could have happened that two prestigious positions suddenly became vacant. She knew that the cause of these changes was herself and her plan for revenge.